people you've worked with for a year or 18 months, all of a sudden they're all in the same city and they all want to see you and they all
Yeah.
want to, can we do this? Can we do that? Can I show you the thing we've been talking about for, and it
Yes.
was just like, you know what I mean? So
You have to have that fun when you travel. You know, we make the mistake of going in and out sometimes, and you realize you're wasting all these opportunities to actually do some other stuff, experience the destination as well.
I would say that one of the things that we are doing right now, and one of the things that we try to set ourselves apart with, is an active and live culture inside our business and with our clients and with our developments of living in the moment and understanding the intentional location that you're at and why we are here, right? Why did we choose Riyadh to build this building? Why did we pick this neighborhood to build this? Why are we choosing this brand to come to life? And how are we operating it on a daily basis beyond guest reception and the restaurant and the spa to say you should choose this property instead of the one next door? And I think those are the things as a operator, and I'm nowhere close to an operator at your scale, but as an operator, I would love to figure out how to really bring into the next generation. Like, how do we get them to say, yes, I work at a great location and it stands for this, but I have to bring it alive. I'm the performer here, right? Like, I'm not just on stage at Broadway doing Phantom of the Opera. I have to be this character. And I think what Rotana does really well, what I talked to Philip about earlier, is this idea of empowering your team and supporting your team to let them embody the brand. And I would say, like, that to me is a lot of where the future of this conversation kind of
Industry.
goes.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more.
Well, Eddie, thanks for letting me do a little bit of talking there. I would love to hear your voice and your thoughts on some of these things. We've partnered and we are sponsoring the FHS conference in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to be speaking on stage on Wednesday. And my voice on stage is about what we're talking about right now. The future isn't just built, it's activated. My personal expertise is about 20 years running large scale hospitality agencies that build moments for global brands, individuals in partnership with institutions like what you guys run, right? The Fairmont, the Rotana Group, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, next to Formula One matches, the Olympics. Sometimes we make the moments whole cloth for magazines to say we should be gathering here in this type of hospitality. And what I've noticed and what's brought me to the region, but also to hospitality in a more permanent sense, is that excitement is needed to keep the properties from becoming bland. That idea of standing for something and not necessarily alienating an audience, but saying, yes, we will provide globally spectacular hospitality, but we're going to focus on this audience a little bit more and give them extra value because it aligns with our superpowers or our location or whatever it is. And I would love to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that if that's okay with you in this conversation.
Absolutely, it'd be a pleasure. You mentioned the magic word. You mentioned the word moments. If I think about it, the places that I can relate to and the places I always decide to go back to because there's so much choice, right? Especially in this region. You go to Dubai, you ask me where do you want to go out, there's so much that I can tell you, but there are those places where you really feel what we call sense of place,
Mm-hmm.
where everything just works, where everything's blending in. There's a charm that you feel. You walk into some hotels or some restaurants or some places where so much money has been spent and everything is big and bright and it just doesn't work for you. There's no harmony, there's no feel, and you don't understand why you're there, so you end up never coming back.
Yep.
And you go to some places where the charm is there. You leave with at least one moment that you'll remember. So the people become the place, if that's accurate as well.
I like to say that the old school hospitality was making sure everybody was comfortable and they had everything they needed. The world was a really hard place to travel, right? It was hard to get from somewhere to somewhere else. I'm going to be honest, it's not hard anymore. I get on Air Saudia or Emirates, Gulf Air, I'm in the lap of luxury getting across the 20 hours it takes for me to arrive in the region. I now want to be made uncomfortable. I want to have my premium experiences tell me how they're going to make me uncomfortable very specifically and get me excited about it ahead of time. We're going to give you this unique meal. We're going to create this spectacular access to a seasoned physical place, performance that you can't touch elsewhere. You should trust us. You trust our brand. We've made a place of comfort for you to be safe, but it's time for you to step out of your comfort zone. I would love to hear how that kind of modern discomfort version of hospitality. How do you challenge your guests, Eddie, so that they make those memories? And you do provide them great service, but how do you challenge them to say, wow, this was a bigger experience than I was expecting and I have to come back?
Well, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of good people provide good service. So what differentiates you from everyone else so that you can create that loyalty factor with your guests.
Yep.
We lean a lot on the nature of who we are as a company. We are a company that was born in this part of the world. We always say we are a company that is regional in existence, but very global in its mindset. So
yep.
I'll give you an example. Last year, we created something that we called the five senses. And we wanted to make sure that every one of those hotels, wherever you walk into the hotel, you can feel and taste and see the five senses. And those five senses were anchored on the place we were located. So for example, one conversation, I'll simplify it. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you touch when you walk into a hotel lobby? What kind of greeting you're getting? And we were debating with the team that was building those five senses standards, if you want. And one idea was we're Emiratis, so everywhere you go, we should treat you the Emirati way. We said, well, let's look at it in a slightly different twist. What if I'm operating in Kenya or Tanzania, where I am operating? Yep. Don't I want people to feel the warmth of my Middle Eastern hospitality? For sure. So yep. the DNA has to be there, but the delivery has to also mirror the sense of place we are in.
100%.
And this is what I think I'm very proud of right now. This is something where it's not forgetting your DNA. Our DNA is about hospitality. It's about real, genuine welcome. You know, back in the day, if you get lost in the desert and you meet someone, they were obliged by rules, by law, by community rules to host you for 3 days, provide you food, drinks, and everything with no questions asked before they ask questions. That's, you know, how we learned that. That's how we learned about the Arabic hospitality growing up in schools. And so that's embedded, because if they don't do that, you're dead in the desert.
Right.
And so that, I think, evolved and developed into the essence of Middle Eastern hospitality. We need to keep anchoring on that, or leaning on that, but we need to also be one with the place we're operating in and provide these special experiences for guests.
You are a very good operator, being in the role that you're in, but you also understand staff retention, growth of teams, being able to say something out loud and then deliver it. In that feedback loop, how do you feel the role of that place? How much of an investment does it take to take your version of hospitality and intentionally root it in a local place? Imagine the whole budget, or whatever we're spending, what percentage of that budget is like, I have to make sure I get local craftspeople to do this. I have to make sure I'm looking at this, getting local buy-in for this. As an operator, how do you ensure that it shows up on the spreadsheets? Because you and I can sit here and say, yeah, you got to have a great piece of art, but you're like, great piece of art's got to also cost, you know, this many SAR or this many dinar.
Yeah, it's a great question, Michael. And what is a great piece of art? In our hotel in Tanzania, you walk into the hotel and there's all these great paintings everywhere. Like, wow, this must have cost a fortune, and it didn't. It was the hotel reaching out to local artists.
Yep.
And when I'm saying artists, I'm talking very organic, local artists, and getting them to come and display their art in the hotels. So from a cost perspective, this was nothing, but the idea was amazing and it works. Now, arguably, this doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to make investments that are important.
Yep.
For me, hospitality, there's the back of house and there's the front of house. And I used to always share a picture with my hotel owners when we were opening a hotel or gearing up to open a hotel. And that picture had a cow in the backside of it and a racing horse in the front. And I used to say, this is the back of house that you want me to build, but you want me to be a racehorse. So in order to deliver like a racehorse, I need a back of house that is a racehorse. So it all starts from the back. You have to build it right from the beginning. And that doesn't differ depending on the place. That's pretty much the same. Those basics are the same. Now, the soft skills, again, go back to the five senses. This is how we interact as humans. We see, we touch, we smell, we feel. And the stories, you know, this is what you need to work on. And it doesn't always have to be a huge, heavy part of the balance sheet. In terms of interior design, in terms of accessorizing, that's very important for sure. So yes, this is about managing expectations. When you are building a project, you need to be aware of those requirements, and the owners have to be aware of them. And this is where we make a mistake. Sometimes we go with big ambitions, but we start value engineering so many things out of the concept, and then it loses the value, it loses the...
This is my exact bit. There's a number. When we talk about the feel and the magic of culture, and what we do at House of Attention, our goal is to open up hotels, restaurants, social clubs, and do semi-permanent experiences like festivals, right? They all have to be accretive to the place. They all have to amplify the actual location that these things exist in, and what spring is like there, and what it's like in September when the fish run versus what it's like in April when it's wavy and you can go surfing. Those are very specific things that in parts of the world we've had centuries, if not millennia, to learn out how to polish them, how to sell them internationally, to explain them to other people and why you would choose. And in other times right now, we have to figure out how to develop that framework and make sure that there's that much thought put into each one of them. Ian Schrager, the hotelier and club owner, usually says, it's about 10% of the budget that if you had to explain in a boardroom, you should be embarrassed. Somebody like Will Guidera from 11 Madison Park and Unreasonable Hospitality says, that magic making budget, that is unquestionable and you can just say yes to it without thinking, again, is somewhere between 5 to 10%. And these are things that sound trivial, but when you're talking about, we're going to an investor conference. FHS is an investor conference. I want to sit down to investors and explain, if you give us 100 million, 200 million, 500 million, we're going to spend 10% of it on things that might not feel clean, but it's going to be accretive to the goal of making a place that needs to exist, not just does exist, but needs to exist for people who don't know about it yet so that they can see it and say, I got to be there. It rests on our shoulders to figure that story out, but then it rests on your shoulders to go teach the team how to deliver it every day over and over again in those tiny little ways. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know what, Michael, that 5 and 10%, sometimes it's more. If you're operating in a location that already has a lot of history and already has these components, maybe the simple example I just gave with the artwork, and you can reach out to those resources and make them part of your ecosystem inside the property or inside the restaurant or inside whatever facility you're building, then you're lucky. But I was part of a project in previous life, so I'm not going to go into brand names, but it was one of the first real lifestyle properties in Dubai. Everyone was talking about lifestyle and everyone wanted to be lifestyle, and everyone thought that if I put a communal table in the lobby and I paint everything white, I'm lifestyle, which obviously now they know it's not the case. But that property, when we looked at what we call OS&E, basically the operating supplies and equipment list, which, roughly, usually there's a certain 15 to 20% of total pre-opening budget goes to that. We looked at that and it was like, this is insane. I mean, how are we going to... we were lucky at the time because the owners of that property were institutional owners that knew exactly what it was going to cost. They wanted to do something very different. One of the items on that OS&E list was they wanted 2 parrots to be in the lobby. And it was like, okay, there might be a typo here. But the whole story was you needed a storyteller. But we're not going to bring a human being and put him in the lobby 365 days a year to tell stories. And we wanted something funky. And I'm like, well, who also tells stories? Parrots tell stories. So let's put 2 parrots. And, we laugh about it, but today you go out and you go to F&B outlets and restaurants and they do nothing for you. But then you realize they were designed exactly the same like every other restaurant, and they're missing so much. And then you go to some of them, it's like, wow, there's everywhere my eye, everything I lay my eye on tells me something. So you end up being in this constant flow of information going into your brain, and that's what captures you, and you keep coming back. So spend more money on it, but they're making more money out of it as well.
So that's the feedback loop that we like to focus in. We say the house of attention in here is you build things that can capture a new person's attention and pull them closer by giving them value that they're passionate about. Once they enter into your house of attention and said, yes, I want to go to your place, I want to be a part of your community, I want to do your thing, whether you're Disney or FIFA or the city of Abu Dhabi, it doesn't matter. I'm now in, I'm bought in, you got my attention, what can I do? And then you have the float at the surface, I'm going to be on the thing. You have, great, that's hang out, go to the pool, go see the Burj Khalifa. It's the tallest thing in the world. It's not a problem. There's an Italy there. It's fantastic. Then there's the swimmers, right, that are like, I'm going to go over there because I like that part of this place. And then there are the divers that are like, how do I get under the surface? How do I put a scuba rig on and see the nooks and crannies and learn how to pearl dive? And why are we pearl diving in the middle of the Gulf here? Traditionally, this is how this worked. And all of those little nuances start to stack up. And I think the magic for me is saying, like, if you're not doing that level, if you're not providing for people floating on the surface, there's no reason for you to exist. What are we doing? Why'd you spend the 150 million? Why did we build this whole building? What did we do this whole for?
Even from a business standpoint, if you're not going to be able to appeal to all those levels without compromising the essence of who you are. So I love the analogy. Some people want to stay at the surface and swim, some people want to dive a bit, and some people want to scuba dive 50 meters below water to see. I love that analogy because you need to be able to provide all those levels, because your customer base is not going to be one. There's going to be different preferences, and you need to appeal to all. But defined concepts will have a specific type of following. It cannot be everything for everyone at the same time. And I think this is also, this is a trap we fall into. Sometimes we try to be everything for everyone and we fail because not every person has the same.
That to me is the future, right? I think food trucks were a global trend because we as the hospitality industry forgot how powerful it is to go to a restaurant that just does one thing. Just one thing. What do? I make soup. What kind of soup? It's got lentils in it and vegetables and stuff. That's all I do. I've been making, my grandmother made it, I make it, my kids make it, we make this soup. You come to my restaurant, I know the guys that make the lentils, the whole thing. Food trucks brought us to that level of hospitality that said, I can only make tacos. I can't make you other Mexican food. I can't get you rice. I don't have the ability. So come to me if you want this thing done really well, and I better do it really well because my specificity. Global hospitality has to make some choices. Yes, we can provide a uniform level of service, but I need to specialize. And if that means you don't like me as much as you like one of my competitors, I have to make that choice occasionally because I have to make sure the floaters are happy. But if you're a swimmer or a diver, you're going to stick with me longer. You're going to not be with me just for the points or because my company account has, it's because I know your name, I know the repeatability, I have this connection to you as a brand, but also I know that the property is going to deliver me that safety of hospitality.
But it's also designing for purpose, Michael. We go and we build these huge restaurants all the time, and then we struggle how to fill them. And then we end up with, and when I say we, I'm talking about the industry. We
100%.
end up with 50-page menus. Okay, I'm exaggerating, not 50.
No way. Yeah.
One of my favorite places on earth is a sandwich place in Byblos in Lebanon, in Jbeil, one of the oldest inhabited city in the world. And this guy does 3 types of sandwiches. And he's been doing the exact same sandwich ever since I was 8 years old.
100%. This is great.
It tastes exactly the same. And he hasn't changed a chair in the restaurant, which is a problem because sometimes these chairs break. But every time I go there, I have to wait 30 minutes to get my sandwich because it's always packed and I have absolutely no problem.
Dubai chocolate was an international success because it was a unique combination of ingredients, but it was also delicious. If it's not delicious, it's not going to be international. Again, I say this, if I don't have a great spa, a great check-in process, a beautifully designed room, I'm not going to be a world-class hotel. But having dark wood versus light wood is not a brand. Choosing Japanese restaurants instead of French restaurants is not a brand voice that can stand anymore. The brand has to say, we are the X hotel, and come here if you want to be challenged, or if you're passionate about these things. We have things on site we designed to make you excited. We also have a hotel and a spa and a really great reception. If you need that, that's fine. But I can't defend against that. I can only defend against the swimming and the diving part because everybody else can do the top part really well.
The main parts of the hotel become the ancillary, right? And then, Michael, I don't want to give too much away because this is still not final with us. But we're working on how do we evolve our food and beverage strategy as a company because hotel food and beverage has fell a bit behind in the last few years in this part of the world because a lot of the standalones came up and that's great. It just brings good competition and good creativity to the market. But we're even thinking, look, who has the best burger, let's say, a signature burger in the market? Why don't we associate ourselves with that burger and, put your ego aside. I know I can probably deliver a similar quality burger, but that burger has already won the hearts of millions. And
yes.
On my in-room dining, on my room service menu, I might have the Michael Cirino burger, if that's what it is. And so it doesn't always have to be a big concept, but it's those small things that sometimes
100%. In my past life, I did a lot of activations around cities and brands, right? And one of the things I always wanted to do was make a room where every Instagram stunt in the whole city was in one place. So you could go photograph it all. Not because you wanted to eat it, but if there's a fancy latte that's rainbow or what, cool. It's got to be. We got
Yeah.
donuts that are crazy looking cool. I just want it in a pen, and I want to show up, and I want to spend $300, and I want to get each bite of food, and I want to take the pictures, and I want to leave. Because part of what we've decided as a civilization is you need to check some of those boxes. And some people need to check them with their camera, and some people want to check them with their taste bud, and some people want to check it over a date or with their partner or with their kids, right? But checking the box is important, and it leads to a better experience and a deeper memory. And it also roots you in the place that you're in. I can eat carbone in New York. Major Food Groups is based here. It's delicious. I can eat carbone in Miami. I can eat carbone in Riyadh and Abu Dhabi and Qatar. These are all amazing places. They're all great restaurants. Carbone, though, doesn't change when it gets to each one of those places. It's brought in because it is a global marker of excellence in the exact same way that there is Mercedes, right? Mercedes makes cars. They make slightly different ones for Dubai, right? But that's not what we're talking about. Mansouri, right, or another local tuner shows up and says, I see your G-Wagon and I can make it appropriate for my community here. Luxury needs that second level of intention, and I think we're at a place where it can start to get really fun because that second level is where the nuance comes in.
Absolutely. And the spenders are in that age group today that want these special experiences. I
Yes.
think, a few generations ago, people with money wanted things the way it was designed. You would walk into a restaurant and then everyone is in white gloves and the menu is fixed and this is how it is. I think people now want the ability to have those experiences that, as you said in the beginning, that are pushing you out of that comfort zone, and not all the standardized, this is when you get the soup and this is when you get the salad and this is when you
Totally.
get your main course and this is the fork you use. I want to use whatever fork I want to use. That mindset changed also, and the spenders, the money now is with individuals that don't care which fork they want to use, or they walk with ripped jeans, but the jeans is very expensive and we have to evolve with it.
100% agree. This was a great conversation, Eddy. I would love to continue it with you when we're on site. We're going to have a small recording space there. And I would love to hear from you as we close out. What is your one sentence view of the future of hospitality? Where do you think we're going? Near term, short term, you pick, man. Let me know, what is that one sentence view of the future of hospitality for you?
First of all, Michael, I also enjoyed a lot this conversation. Looking forward to seeing you at FHS next week. Hospitality for me will always be about people. I think whatever evolution we get, whatever technological trends we get, it will always be about people. But the one thing that will change is people's preferences, what people want to do, what do they want to experience, and this is the evolution that we need to make. But if you design everything with keeping in mind that customer journey, which feeling do I want to unlock in my customer, and then you design backwards, we're going to be successful. Even with our staff, with our employees, right? The culture that you're bringing into work every day, if this will never change, no matter what changes in the world, hospitality will always be about people.